Hello again, everybody. I'm Ed Robinson, and welcome to the season finale of the program. This is a show where we get you caught up on anything and everything happening around the NFL. On the program, we'll recap the big game, and then also I'll give you my thoughts on the Philadelphia Eagles and so much more. So sit back, relax, and enjoy the program. So, as always, before I get into my top three storylines, let's recap the big game that took place in New Orleans. It was predicted to be a close game. It was the rematch between the Philadelphia Eagles and the Kansas City Chiefs, but it was all domination by the Eagles. Fly, Eagles, fly. The Eagles beat the Chiefs 40-22. So in the first quarter, the Eagles got going on offense. Jalen Hurts scores a rushing touchdown. The extra point was good, giving the Eagles a 7-0 lead. The Chiefs had their struggles continue going into the second quarter. So after Jake Elliott had a field goal, the Eagles would take a 10-0 lead in the second quarter. Midway through the first half, Chiefs quarterback Patrick Mahomes throws an interception. The pass was intercepted by Eagles defensive back Cooper DeJean. He takes it to the house for an interception return touchdown. Extra point is good. Eagles increase their lead 17-0. Just before halftime, the Chiefs trying to make things happen. Patrick Mahomes was blitzed. He had his pass intercepted by Eagles linebacker Zach Bond, giving the Eagles great field position. So with the Eagles being on offense, Jalen Hurts throws a touchdown pass to wide receiver A.J. Brown. The Eagles take a 24-0 lead going into halftime. So after the halftime show, we were dazzled by Kendrick Lamar, SZA, and also saw appearances for Samuel L. Jackson. Also, we saw Serena Williams do her thing through a glimpse of a part of the halftime show. And the Philadelphia Eagles, they told the Kansas City Chiefs, you're not like us. And certainly the Chiefs were not like them throughout the course of the game. So we saw the third quarter with the Eagles increasing their lead with another field goal by Jake Elliott, giving Philly a 27-0 lead. After the Chiefs continue to struggle on offense, as they say, when it rains, it pours, and Jalen Hurts continued to do his thing. He threw a touchdown pass to Devontae Smith. The extra point was good, increasing Philly's lead 34-0. Just before the end of the third quarter, the Chiefs finally got on the board with Patrick Mahomes throwing a touchdown pass to Xavier Worthy. The two-point conversion was no good. And at the end of the third quarter, the Eagles now led 34-6. So the fourth quarter saw the Eagles getting two more field goals from Jake Elliott, increasing their lead 40-6. And then the Chiefs, Patrick Mahomes threw two more touchdown passes, one to DeAndre Hopkins and another one to Xavier Worthy. Both of the two-point conversions were good, but in the end, the Eagles just was dominant from start to finish, both on offense and defense, with Philadelphia winning 40-22. And the party rolled on from Bourbon Street to Broad Street, and it continued on South Street with the parade that happened with the Eagles. And certainly the Eagles are your 2025 NFL champions. And it was just dominant from start to finish. Jalen Hurts was named MVP of the game. And the final statistics, we have Jalen Hurts completed 17 out of 22 passes for 221 yards, two touchdown passes, and an interception. And he also had a rushing touchdown. Saquon Barkley, 25 carries for 57 yards, and he had 6 catches for 40 yards. Devontae Smith, 4 catches, 69 yards, and a touchdown. A.J. Brown, 3 catches for 43 yards and a touchdown. Jahan Dotson, 2 catches for 42 yards. And Dallas Goedert, 2 catches for 27 yards. On the losing end for the Chiefs, quarterback Patrick Mahomes completed 21 out of 32 passes for 257 yards, 3 touchdown passes, and 2 interceptions. Xavier Worthy, 8 catches for 157 yards and 2 touchdowns. Travis Kelce, 4 catches for 39 yards. And DeAndre Hopkins, 2 catches for 18 yards and a touchdown. Once again, the final score in the big one in New Orleans. It was a Mardi Gras that came early for the Eagles, and the celebrations continue. The Eagles beat the Chiefs 40-22. All right, so now it's time for my top three storylines. So I want to start off talking about the Philadelphia Eagles. Howie Roseman, the general manager of the team, had the greatest season by far in the history in the history of the NFL in terms of for a front office executive. The last several years, Roseman making trades happen with teams trading up to get important spots in the draft, also getting AJ Brown in the trade with the Tennessee Titans. Also, you strike gold not only in the draft, making some key picks. Also, you strike gold by acquiring Saquon Barkley this past offseason in free agency. Boy, Howie really did his thing. And kudos to Jeffrey Lurie, the owner and chairman of the team, for allowing Howie to do his thing. The last several years, Howie has been moving and shaking and then some. And again, the trade with Tennessee to bring AJ Brown to Philly, and then you draft Devontae Smith. Also, not to mention AJ Brown, Devontae Smith. They've got contract extensions, so they're going to be around in Philly. That core is going to be around for at least the next 3 to 5 years. They're going to be solid. That offensive line was the best in the business this year. Landon Dickerson, Lane Johnson, Cam Jurgens. I mean, well, what more could you say? That line was so good, not just with the brotherly shove, but you acquire Saquon Barkley, and then the defense did their thing. They made some moves in free agency. That draft was something else for the Eagles, and kudos to Howie Roseman and also Jeffrey Lurie as well in making things happen for this squad. And the Eagles, I see a strong possibility of them repeating. They have the possibility of going back to back. Can it happen? Hey, their core is going to be together for at least the next 3 to 5 years with Brown and Smith getting their contract extensions. Also, Jalen Hurts, he got his contract extension as well. I'll talk more about Jalen in just a little bit. And then Saquon Barkley is going to be around for several more years. So this is going to be interesting next 3 to 5 years for the Philadelphia Eagles. And I'm here for it. It's going to be a lot of fun, man. It's going to be exciting, and certainly a lot of Eagles fans and just a lot of football fans are excited to see what Philadelphia is going to do next. My next storyline is going to be Jalen Hurts. So Jalen Hurts, several years ago, the first time when the Eagles and the Chiefs played in the big game and the Eagles had fallen short, he still to this day keeps that wallpaper on his cell phone as a motivation to continue to grind, to continue to not quit, to never stop. And certainly it was a season for the record books. Jalen Hurts gets MVP of the big game, and certainly he earned that. Jalen Hurts has had a lot of adversities. He's a guy that has such a unique story, not just from a football standpoint, not just from athletics, but just life as a whole, that a lot of things were not fair. You know, getting benched in the national championship game for Tua Tagovailoa, Alabama wind up winning that national championship game in overtime, but Jalen was benched. He goes and he plays 1 year at the University of Oklahoma. He's a Heisman Trophy candidate. Then he's drafted by the Eagles. And then I want to say midway through his rookie year, he winds up becoming the starter. And that's when things come into full swing. And certainly Jalen Hurts, he's earned that. I always knew Jalen Hurts would be a top quarterback in the NFL. And he certainly is now in the upper echelon now in terms of the MVPs of the big game. And certainly he now joins Joe Namath. And I believe he also he joins Joe Namath and Joe Montana as the only three quarterbacks to have be an MVP of the big game and also win a national championship as well. So he's certainly among some credible people. But Jalen, he's earned it. He put the naysayers and he put the doubters and he put the critics to bed because Jalen's going to be around part of this nucleus for a long time coming. And for my last storyline is going to be the Kansas City Chiefs. So Kansas City, back-to-back champs. They were looking for the three-peat and have a Mardi Gras of their own in New Orleans. It did not happen. So, where does this leave the team from the Midwest? Patrick Mahomes, once in a lifetime talent, generational talent. He's not going anywhere. Travis Kelce, what does his future hold? We know he's been involved with a famous pop star for quite some time now. I don't have to name drop. I think you know who she is. And then more and more opportunities have come outside of the game of football. Him and his brother Jason have been very successful in the podcasting world. And then also he's been involved in some acting as well. So is his attention, is he still all in on football, or is he all in and is all in on his business interests as well as dealing with a certain somebody? Only time will tell. But the Kansas City, they've got a lot of work to do in the offseason. Defensively, they've got to get stronger. They've got to get at least another big play wide receiver. I mean, what's the future going to hold for? Will they bring DeAndre Hopkins back another year, maybe 2 years? The future's bright for Xavier Worthy. Isaiah Pacheco, I'm not too concerned about him. Kansas City's got to really tweak the offensive line. There's a lot of things that they've got to tweak, but the Chiefs will be in the midst of things. They will be in the thick of things. As long as Mahomes is there, they're not going anywhere. They will be in the thick of things, and they're still going to make noise. They're still going to be around for the next decade and a half, but it's hard to win in the National Football League. The NFL is no walk in the park. Professional sports is no walk in the park in general, and it's only going to get tougher from here on out for Kansas City. I mean, can they rebound? Sure, they can rebound. Patrick Mahomes, as I stated earlier, he's not going anywhere. We don't know what the future holds for Travis Kelce, but if he decides to come back, they have to put a plan in place to prepare for life after Kelce, and then also fine-tune that offensive line and make some adjustments on defense. But Kansas City, the three-peat didn't happen in New Orleans, and they've got to fine-tune and they've got to retool if they want to stay on top of their game, because, as I stated earlier, it's no walk in the park, and it's not going to be easy from here on out. Because remember, Cincinnati, they're on Kansas City's heels. Buffalo, they're on their heels too. Baltimore, they're on their heels as well. Pittsburgh, hey, they're on their heels as well. So it's not going to be easy, but if anybody's up for the challenge, it would be Patrick Mahomes and head coach Andy Reid and the Kansas City Chiefs. All right, so that takes care of that. So while we stay with the Philadelphia Eagles, so in case you've been living under a rock, after they won the big game and sealed the deal, the New Orleans Saints, they sealed the deal with now former Eagles offensive coordinator Kellen Moore. That's right. The Who Dat Nation, they have their new head coach, and it is Kellen Moore. Kellen, this is his first head coaching job in the National Football League, and the New Orleans Saints the last several years. Their head coach was Dennis Allen. At the first maybe several games of the 2024 season, it was a rough patch with Allen. He was fired, and the interim head coach, Darren Rizzi, came in, brought a little life to the team. Towards the end of the year, Rizzi was the team special teams coordinator, and he interviewed to become the full-time head coach for the team. But the New Orleans Saints, they made the move. General manager Mickey Loomis, and along with the owner of the team, Gail Benson, they decided to hire the former offensive coordinator from the Philadelphia Eagles, and to have Kellen Moore as the new head coach of the New Orleans Saints. And taking his place as the offensive coordinator for the Eagles will be Kevin Patullo. Of course, Kevin previously was the pass game coordinator and the associate head coach for the Eagles. So Kellen heads down to winning the big one in New Orleans, and remains in the Crescent City to become the new head coach of the Saints. And Kevin Patullo is promoted to the offensive coordinator position, and becoming the passing game coordinator for the Eagles will be Parks Frazier. So again, a lot of moves happening in the coaching world, but Kellen Moore getting a shot in New Orleans to prove his worth as a head coach in the NFL, and Kevin Patullo proving himself to be trying to prove his worth as an offensive coordinator, and Parks Frazier being promoted to passing game coordinator. Some other news to pass along to you. We had some retirements that happened. We had Zach Martin. You know, Zach Martin was one of the mainstays of the offensive line for the Dallas Cowboys. He announced his retirement. He played his whole career with the Cowboys. He played 11 seasons in the NFL, 9-time Pro Bowler, 9-time All-Pro. And you talk about one of the guys that was just simply one of the best, not just for Dallas, but just at his respective position playing the offensive line. So, again, Zach Martin announced his retirement from the league. And then also other retirements we had Mason Crosby. You know Mason, right? Longtime kicker for the Green Bay Packers. He recently announced his retirement. Also, we had John Feliciano, former offensive lineman, played for the 49ers, also played for the Buffalo Bills, and also played for the New York Giants. He announced his retirement as well. Also, Micah Hyde. Micah announced his retirement as well. Micah had some great seasons for the Buffalo Bills. He announced his retirement. And we had some sad news. Virginia Hallis McCaskey passed away at the age of 102. Hallis McCaskey was the owner of the Chicago Bears. I mean, one of the mainstays, one of the Regal franchises, not just in the NFL, but in all the sports. She became the owner of the team in 1983 following the passing of her father, George Papa Bear Hallis. And as an owner of the team, she won the big game. That's right, the 20th installment of the big game in New Orleans. And again, when you talk about the Chicago Bears as one of those blue blood franchises, and Virginia Hallis McCaskey, there's a lot of tradition behind that. But again, Virginia Hallis McCaskey passing away at the age of 102. She was the owner of the Chicago Bears, and she assumed the position she was the owner of the team, I should say, since 1983. So we have some news to pass along to you with the NFL International Series. So there will be a game played this year in Brazil. It will be played in Sao Paulo. Last year's game in Sao Paulo, Brazil, was with the Green Bay Packers and the Philadelphia Eagles. Well, one opponent has been named, and that's the Los Angeles Chargers. So the Chargers will be playing in the game in 2025 in Sao Paulo, Brazil. Also, we have the game will be played. There will be an NFL game played in Dublin, Ireland this year. The Pittsburgh Steelers have been the team named for the game. No, the opponent has not been named as of yet. But again, the game in Sao Paulo in this coming NFL season, the Los Angeles Chargers will be one of the teams playing in the game in Brazil. And the game in Dublin, Ireland will be the Pittsburgh Steelers. Their opponent has not been named as of yet. So a lot of moving and shaking happening now. So we've got the scouting combine in Indianapolis. We've got all sorts of stuff taking place with Shedeur Sanders, Travis Hunter, also Cam Ward, so on and so forth. And also Ashton Jeanty as well. Those are some of the big draft prospects coming into the combine in Indianapolis. So never a dull moment in the NFL. So we have the scouting combine, and then we've got the NFL draft in Green Bay. We've got so much is happening. It's never a dull moment. Then, of course, the schedule release, and then free agency is going to be a feeding frenzy. And I mentioned about some retirements and stuff. And, I mentioned about Travis Kelce and what his future holds. Aaron Rodgers. The New York Jets have announced that they're moving on from him. Will Aaron Rodgers be a part of the Pittsburgh Steelers? There's rumor mill about him maybe going out, staying on the East Coast and playing for the Pittsburgh Steelers. Will that happen, or will they bring Russell Wilson back? Will they try to bring Justin Fields back? It's just so many questions, man. Also, Matthew Stafford, will they bring Matthew? Will the Los Angeles Rams try to bring Matthew Stafford back now that the Rams have decided to part ways with Cooper Kupp? Where will Cooper Kupp play in 2025? Where will Myles Garrett play in 2025? He's asked for a trade out of Cleveland. So much has happened. Just the NFL is just never a dull moment. And we come to this conclusion now. Philadelphia, no longer the hunter. They're now the hunted. How will they fit into the grand scheme of things in 2025? Is there a repeat in the works? It's a strong possibility. What will Kansas City say about this? What about Buffalo? What about Baltimore? What about Cincinnati? Also, what about teams like the Detroit Lions and the San Francisco 49ers? What about emerging teams like the Washington Commanders? Will Jaden Daniels have a sophomore slump? It's just so many questions, man. I mean, the NFL is just never a dull moment. But for right now, the Philadelphia Eagles, they had a celebration on Bourbon Street, and they continued that celebration on Broad Street, and they took it to the Philadelphia Museum of Art, to the Rocky Steps, and they had a celebration of their own in the city of brotherly love, Philadelphia. And that's going to do it for the season finale of the program. Thank you so much for tuning in all season long. It was a lot of fun. It was a blast. And hey, it was never a dull moment, man. And I'm glad that you were along for the ride. Till next time, everybody, I'm Ed Robinson. And as always, so long and you take care. Hey, everybody. Thank you so much for tuning into the channel. Remember to click like, share, and subscribe. And thank you for watching.